Are you curious about the tales that the department stores that closed down over the years have hidden behind closed doors? Every store has a distinct story to tell about its invention, rivalry, and eventual demise. We're going to examine in-depth 20 stores that have influenced the retail industry today. All set? Let's get started. Once the undisputed retail industry leader in America, Sears faced a complex web of problems that ultimately contributed to its demise. Critics frequently point to poor management and a slow reaction to the digital age. With the introduction of well-known brands like Craftsman and Kenmore, Sears cemented its position in American homes and transformed the shopping experience by offering high-end, unique goods. Beyond just being stores, Sears became cultural icons, presenting the beloved wish book, a mainstay of the holiday season for a large number of American families. Because Sears adopted e-commerce slowly, the surge in online shopping led by Amazon significantly reduced Sears' market share. Repurposing former Sears locations as offices, community centers, and educational facilities demonstrates the trend away from traditional retail locations and toward multi-purpose uses. Due to its incapacity to compete with retail behemoths like Walmart and Target, which enticed customers with lower prices and a larger selection of goods, Kmart saw a decline in the retail industry. Long-term market dominance was not possible for Kmart thanks to iconic blue light specials. Although it was supposed to be a strengthening move, the 2004 merger with Sears made matters worse financially. The shift in consumer preferences toward high-end experiences and internet shopping accelerated Kmart's demise. However, as former Kmart locations become gyms, churches, and community colleges, inventive uses of space in response to the evolution of retail are demonstrating resilience. The story of Montgomery Ward's demise is one of fierce competition, a failure to adapt to the changing retail environment, and calculated errors. With its broad product offering and commitment to customer satisfaction, Montgomery Ward was a trailblazer at the height of its business, directly competing with Sears. Suburban mall development signaled the start of the end for catalog-based retailers such as Montgomery Ward. Although Montgomery Ward is no longer as ubiquitous as it once was, its architectural legacy lives on, reimagined for a variety of new applications that demonstrate a dynamic shift in the use of space that was previously devoted to retail. Woolworth's closure in the U.S. can be attributed to dwindling sales and an inability to adjust to changing retail conditions. Woolworth stood out from the competition in the retail industry thanks to its lunch counters, which served as symbols of the civil rights movement, and its reasonably priced, high-quality house brands. The conversion of former Woolworth's buildings into eateries, boutiques, and offices is evidence of how retail and urban development are changing. These changes underscore the dynamic shifts that currently characterize the retail industry and emphasize the value of creativity and adaptation in the face of shifting consumer preferences and market conditions. A major factor in RadioShack's downfall was its inability to adapt to the rapidly evolving electronics market and the digital revolution. Being a pioneer in the fields of electronics and personal computers, RadioShack struggled to stay in business as customers shifted to buying online or from specialty stores. It made an attempt to modernize its product selection and store designs, but these adjustments came too little, too late. The rapid development of technology and the popularity of internet shopping created obstacles that were too great for RadioShack to overcome. Since then, efforts to revitalize the brand have concentrated on using internet channels and creating more compact, niche retail formats in an effort to reclaim a portion of the market by adjusting to the modern retail landscape. The demise of service merchandise was caused by a combination of internal management problems and consumer preferences, shifting in favor of specialty and internet retailers. It was initially distinguished by its unique catalog showroom model, which lets customers order from a catalog while they're in the store and pick up their items at a pickup area. However, as customers started to prefer more instant gratification when shopping, this model became outdated. The shift in customer behavior was a major factor in the brand's downfall. The spaces that were formerly occupied by service merchandise have been put to a variety of uses today, such as community centers and other retail endeavors, demonstrating how retail spaces are always evolving to meet the needs of the community and shifting market demands. Big box stores that provided greater selections at lower prices, fierce competition from online retailers like Amazon, and a heavy debt load all contributed to Toys R Us's demise. There were times when the release of much-anticipated toys and video games drew lines of excited shoppers who waited for hours for events that highlighted the Toys R Us shopping experience. Even though Toys R Us made an effort to change its business strategy, including partnering with Target to sell products online, it finally filed for bankruptcy. The brand has been revitalized through partnerships with other retailers and the opening of pop-up stores, indicating a continuous effort to take back its position in the market. Cresci's transformation into Kmart marked a significant change intended to modernize the brand and expand its market reach in the very competitive discount retail industry in response to the changing retail landscape and consumer expectations. By introducing a novel retail concept that prioritized affordability and convenience, this strategic evolution dramatically changed the company's standing and helped Kmart become a household name in America. Customers were left with a lasting impression when the first Kmart store opened, providing a wide selection of goods at deeply discounted prices, all under one roof. Cresci's dedication to value and customer service established a solid basis for Kmart's culture. However, Kmart faced new difficulties as the retail industry saw significant changes in the late 20th century due to the emergence of competitors and changing consumer preferences. The post-transition fade of former Cresci stores, many of which were either repurposed or joined the Kmart expansion, illustrates how adaptable the retail industry is to changing economic conditions and consumer demands, reflecting the dynamic shifts within American retail spaces. Once a fierce competitor of Macy's in New York, Gimbels finally closed its doors as a result of a combination of fierce competition, changes in consumer behavior, and a failure to adjust to the rapidly evolving retail landscape. Thanksgiving Day, parade icon Gimbels went beyond retail to make a lasting impact on American holiday culture and leave a legacy that went beyond business. However, Gimbels found it difficult to stay relevant as new retail models and consumer preferences arose, which ultimately resulted in its closure. Calder's departure from the competitive department store market in the northeastern United States was due to a number of factors, such as competition from national discount chains and difficulties making a name for itself. In an attempt to set itself apart from its discount competitors, Calder used distinctive marketing techniques and sales tactics. Its closure resulted from insurmountable challenges caused by the rise of national chains and the shift in consumer shopping habits. Despite these efforts, repurposing abandoned Calder locations in an adaptable manner demonstrates the adaptability and durability of retail environments while taking into account local demands and wider economic shifts. This shift emphasizes how crucial innovation and flexibility are to the retail sector, as businesses aim to stay relevant in a constantly changing marketplace. The beloved brand Mervyn's in the west of the United States went bankrupt due to a string of bad business decisions, competitive pressures, and economic downturns. Mervyn's was praised for its sales and marketing campaigns, highlighting its commitment to quality and involvement in the community. However, Mervyn's was unable to withstand the pressures of the competitive retail environment, even with efforts to modernize stores and update merchandise selections. Mervyn's locations are being repurposed, which is a sign of wider trends in the retail industry and a move toward more varied uses for large retail spaces. The Hills department store's journey came to an end when it was unable to keep up with changing consumer preferences and the assault from discount retailers. Acclaimed for its unique holiday sales and dedication to quality, Hills established a distinct position for itself in the crowded retail industry. But the advent of big box stores and the ease of internet shopping severely undermined Hills' capacity to effectively compete. The way that former Hills locations have been converted into other retail establishments or repurposed for uses other than retail bears witness to the dynamic nature of retail real estate and the ongoing evolution of the industry. This move emphasizes the value of innovation and adaptation in staying relevant in a retail environment that is changing quickly. The suburbanization trend, changing consumer behavior, and the overall decline of Detroit's downtown area all contributed to Hudson's demise, once a shining star in the city and the larger Midwest retail scene. The iconic Hudson's flagship store in Detroit served as the venue for important cultural gatherings and embodied the inventive spirit of the retailer. Hudson's failed to overcome the obstacles presented by the shifting retail industry dynamics and cityscape, despite its best efforts to adapt. The repurposing of the iconic Hudson's building is a symbol of the ongoing transformation of urban centers and the resiliency of Detroit. A significant turning point in the retail industry was reached when Kaufman's merged with Macy's, closing a chapter for the cherished Pittsburgh store. Known for its joyous holiday displays and outstanding customer support, Kaufman's distinguished itself in the retail industry. However, the rise of internet shopping and the declining attraction of downtown areas presented serious difficulties. The way that Kaufman's historic building in downtown Pittsburgh has been repurposed to meet contemporary needs while maintaining its heritage is a perfect example of the ongoing evolution of the retail industry. This change emphasizes how important it is for innovation to stay relevant in a world where shifting market trends and customer behaviors are reshaping the landscape. The demise of Blockbuster serves as a sobering reminder of what happens when people fail to keep up with the advancements of the digital age. Blockbuster trailed behind as people moved towards streaming and online rentals for convenience, not being able to compete with the accessibility and variety provided by these new platforms. A reminder of a bygone era, the appeal of the last Blockbuster taps into a collective nostalgia despite its attempts at innovation and memorable marketing. This story highlights how important it is for companies to anticipate and adapt to technological advancements and customer needs, illustrating how quickly and harshly the retail and digital industries change. The conversion of Marshall Field's into Macy's represents a dramatic turn in the story of retail, impacting not only the legendary history of Marshall Field's, known for its exquisite Christmas window displays and dedication to excellence, but also the larger trend of department store consolidations. Marshall Field's, the epitome of retail perfection, distinguished itself with unmatched customer service and an amazing assortment of products. The acquisition by Macy's is illustrative of the retail industry's trend of mergers and acquisitions, which is putting traditional department stores' identities to the test. As Macy's takes over, the iconic State Street flagship store maintains its historic grandeur while adjusting to the needs of contemporary retail, signifying a fusion of tradition and advancement in the changing retail landscape. The digital revolution caused Tower Records, which was once the center of the music industry, to shift from physical to digital formats for music consumption. Tower Records, a destination for music lovers and renowned for its wide selection, live performances, was severely impacted by this seismic shift. Tower Records closed as a result of the growth of digital downloads, streaming, and online piracy, which changed how people obtained music. The company was unable to survive these changes, but some locations have been preserved or repurposed to honor Tower Records' contribution to the local community and music culture. These websites serve as memorials to a bygone era, highlighting the brand's enduring impact and the significance of industry adaptation to technological changes. The reasons behind Bonwit Teller's departure from the luxury retail industry were fierce competition, changing consumer preferences, and a failure to adjust to new market conditions. Once a trailblazer in fashion, recognized for her avant-garde looks and private events, Bonwit Teller encountered difficulties with the emergence of direct-to-consumer companies and the ease of internet purchasing. The conventional department store format was undercut by these factors. In the end, Sears, a pioneer in the field of cheap department stores, was unable to withstand the pressure from newly emerging retail behemoths and changes in consumer preferences. Sears, which was well known for its audacious marketing strategies and noteworthy sales events, found it difficult to hold on to its market share against strong rivals, which was indicative of the turbulent retail landscape of the 1980s and 1990s. Due to the industry's explosive growth and change, Sears faced unsurmountable obstacles that resulted in its acquisition by other retail companies and the end of its market presence. The dynamic nature of the retail industry is demonstrated by the rebranding and transformation of Sears store locations, which mirror broader trends in retail consolidation and the ongoing adaptation needed to remain relevant in the face of changing consumer demands. The story of Daya's decline challenges the brand's relationship with its teenage audience by focusing on changing fashion trends and the rise of online shopping. The digital transformation of retail presented Daya with significant challenges through unique fashion trends and a strong catalog presence as new online competitors appeared with more contemporary styles and engaging online shopping experiences. The endeavor to revitalize the brand for a contemporary audience emphasizes the timeless allure of Daya's identity and the seasonality of fashion trends, highlighting the significance of flexibility and ingenuity in maneuvering the competitive terrain of retail fashion. Do you get a kick out of those vintage department stores? If so, please click the like button, subscribe, and watch more nostalgic videos. The United States had some peculiar laws in the 1970s. Consider taking your pet for a stroll while they're not wearing a diaper or attempting to roller skate in a public restroom, both of which are obviously taboo. The introduction of hot pants was this year's big fashion story. Additionally, you might be breaking the law if you decided to unwind in a bathtub without making sure it had legs. Furthermore, it is illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your pocket or cruise in a black car on Sundays. Additionally, you should not play pinball if you are younger than 18. For the first time ever, you are going to see a child try to play pinball with his feet. Are you prepared, mister? Proceed. These peculiar laws had everyone scratching their heads, whether they were frowning at police, slurping soup, wearing hot pants, or flirting with flags. Therefore, if you were alive in the 1970s, you had better be on the lookout for these 20 strange and illegal things. Number 1, walking a dog without a diaper. There were some cities that made it illegal to walk your dog without wearing a diaper on your dog. It was anticipated that dogs would wear diapers with the purpose of preventing any unanticipated accidents that might occur on public streets. At the same time that this peculiar law made an effort to keep cities clean, it caused pet owners to laugh a lot and scratch their heads when they thought about it. Due to the fact that owners were so eager to comply with this peculiar rule, the meaning of dog fashion underwent a complete transformation. Despite the fact that, thankfully, this law was eventually forgotten, along with disco balls and bell-bottoms, it is still an odd relic from the past of laws pertaining to the ownership of pets. Number 2, wearing roller skates in public restrooms. When it comes to public restrooms, it is actually against the law to wear roller skates under certain circumstances. In the end, it all came down to safety concerns because of the potential for disaster that could be caused by crowded restrooms, slick floors, and people zipping around on wheels. Roller skating was prohibited in these restricted areas by the authorities because they were concerned about the possibility of accidents and injuries. Although this law may have slowed down the trend of roller disco, it did make bathroom breaks a little less chaotic than they would have been otherwise. Number 3, installing bathtubs without legs. It is possible that the fact that installing bathtubs without legs was prohibited in certain regions will come as a surprise to you. For the purpose of preventing bathtubs from being placed directly on the ground, this regulation was put into place. Legs improved ventilation beneath the tub and prevented moisture accumulation, which could have produced mold growth and other unhygienic conditions. Legs also prevented the accumulation of moisture. These issues were given serious consideration by legislators back then, despite the fact that it seems strange to think about now. If they did not make certain that their bathtubs were in compliance with this requirement, homeowners ran the risk of breaking the law. Number 4, driving a black car on Sundays. The act of driving a black car on a Sunday was considered to be a criminal offense in certain locations. This peculiar prohibition was founded on the idea that automobiles, particularly black ones, disrupted the typical day of rest that people were supposed to do. Because Sundays were considered to be holy days that should be spent in prayer and rest, the sight of cars driving at high speeds was considered to be in direct opposition to this ideal. There is a possibility that the decision to crack down on black cars was made due to the increased visibility of black cars, or because of the associations that black cars have with extravagance and luxury. Number 5, ice cream cones in your pocket. During the 1970s, a few states had some peculiar laws that prohibited people from carrying ice cream cones in their back pockets. These laws were in effect in a few states. It is said that in rural areas, naughty people would sneak around town with ice cream cones in their pockets in the hope that horses would be drawn to the sweet treat and follow them home. This kind of behavior is said to have occurred in the past. It is not known how frequently this law was implemented, but it certainly adds a new and interesting dimension to the peculiarities that were present in the legislation of the 1970s. Number 6, singing in a swimsuit. During the 1970s in the United States of America, there were specific locations where singing while wearing a swimsuit could get you into a lot of trouble. In certain locations, there were laws that made it illegal to sing along while being dressed in beachwear. Despite the fact that this prohibition was justified for a number of different reasons, The need to maintain decorum in public areas was frequently the driving force behind it. Some authorities believe that singing while wearing a swimsuit is impolite and contributes to the disruption of the tranquility that exists in public places. Number 7. Playing pinball if you're under 18. While pinball was a popular pastime in the 1970s, not everyone was able to enjoy themselves to the fullest. Under certain circumstances, it was against the law for individuals who were younger than 18 years old to take part in this particular arcade pastime. Pinball, with its flashing lights and fast-paced action, was considered by the authorities to have the potential to divert children's attention away from activities that were more beneficial to their health. Just for a moment, put yourself in the position of a young person who was desperate to earn points on the pinball machine, only to find out that doing so would be technically illegal. Number 8. Wearing skimpy clothes in public parks. There are some parks in which it is against the law to wear clothing that is too revealing. Hot pants, which were extremely short shorts that were all the rage during that time period, were regarded as being too exposed in certain public places. This was the case. The authorities in certain regions held the opinion that these skimpy bottoms went too far, and as a result, they passed laws that prohibited the public display of these bottoms. Number 9. Spitting on the sidewalk. Spitting on the sidewalk was considered to be more than just a matter of poor manners in many cities because it was against the law. This stringent stance against spitting was instituted due to concerns regarding public health, particularly in light of the fact that tuberculosis and other diseases were still prevalent. The authorities were concerned that spitting could spread bacteria and other harmful germs, so they enacted ordinances to discourage people from doing so. Number 10. Flirting with flags. When it came to flirting in the funky 1970s, there were specific guidelines to follow. In certain communities, the use of flags as a means of flirting was considered to be inappropriate. There were laws in place in certain locations that made it illegal to send romantic signals using flags. This prohibition was most likely prompted by concerns regarding the possibility of misunderstandings and matters of public etiquette. Number 11. Frowning at police officers. In certain regions during the 1970s, it was actually against the law to make fun of law enforcement officers. The act of frowning at law enforcement officers was considered impolite in certain locations, and as a result, it was against the law. The enforcement of this law was a manifestation of a larger cultural emphasis on maintaining law and order, demonstrating respect for those in positions of authority, and encouraging positive behavior toward law enforcement. Number 12. Pigeon feeding. Pigeon feeding was a practice that was prohibited in many cities, despite the fact that it might appear to be harmless. The authorities were concerned about the increasing total number of pigeons, as well as the mess that they left behind. It was common knowledge that pigeons would congregate in areas where food was readily available, which would exacerbate hygiene problems and pose a threat to people's health. Number 13. Leaping off buildings. Leaping off a building was forbidden in New York in the 1970s. The reason this law, which is still in effect today, was probably put in place to protect people from harm and to stop irresponsible actions that might put people below, as well as the jumper, in danger. Number 14. Slurping soup. It was actually illegal in some areas of New Jersey to slurp soup. Taking a loud swig could get you into trouble. This unusual rule was justified by the need to preserve social norms and decorum during mealtimes. Number 15. Connecting to the internet without permission. Although the internet was still in its infancy in the 1970s, it may be illegal to connect to it without authorization. Future cybersecurity and digital regulations were established by making unauthorized access to network services a serious offense. Number 16. Dogs that bark. In some cities in the 1970s, it was against the law for dogs to bark after 6 p.m. The regulation of canine chatter was implemented to preserve tranquility in residential areas. Number 17. Using silly string. In some towns in the 1970s, it was illegal to use silly string. This entertaining party staple was outlawed because of the mess it made and the possibility of vandalism. Number 18. Hanging obstructions from the rearview mirror. Anything that could obstruct the driver's view could not be hung from the rearview mirror. The purpose of this law was to increase road safety by guaranteeing that drivers could see the traffic up ahead clearly and unhindered. Number 19. Painting polka dots on the American flag. Any modification to the American flag was considered a grave offense, as patriotism was of utmost importance. it was legally forbidden to paint polka dots or make any other alterations to the flag in order to preserve its honor and importance. Number 20, sitting on your porch with a couch. In some college towns in the 1970s, it was illegal to have upholstered furniture, including couches, outdoors. The purpose of this regulation was to mitigate fire hazards, specifically in areas where student housing is common.